Sadie Jones kuuluu brittiläisen nykykirjallisuuden kirkkaaseen kärkeen ja hän kasvoi Lontoon Chelseassa näyttelijääitinsä ja runoilija käsikirjoittaja isänsä kanssa. Ja ennen kirjojen uransa hän työskenteli 15 vuoden ajan TV-käsikirjoittajana. Ja huippusuosio on noussut. Ehkä Rakkaus oli totta on hänen 4. romaani. Welcome, Sadie.
Thank you very much.
This is your 4th novel, and ever since your debut novel, Outcast, Kotiin paluu in Finnish, you have won appreciated prizes and readers' hearts all over the world, both in UK and abroad. And I think this book is it's about human relationships with all ingredients, and the story is based in London in the 1960s and 70s, and even though it tells about romance and youth and love, I think that the main theme is friendship. That's what I feel. Do you agree?
That's really interesting. It's certainly about loyalties. It's the story of these young people who are all seeking something. They've all come from some kind of damage or difficulty in their backgrounds. And yes, they fall into a sort of family. None of them really have a family that works themselves. So yes, it's very much about friendship as well as about the impossibility of healthy romantic love, I think.
Yes. Lukas Kanowski, or just Luke, is one of the main characters, and he accidentally gets together with Paul and League in a car a rainy night, and the three of them become a really tight group of friends and associates as well. How would you describe their challenges of dynamics in the group?
Well, Lee falls in love with Luke really the moment she meets him, and he then falls in love with somebody else. But then there's a sort of another love triangle in the story, which is really art and theatre. Luke is a playwright, as you know, and it's his loyalty to his work and whether he's going to betray it for love. He falls into a very destructive relationship. So really there's a sort of tangled web of loyalties that they're trying to work, they're trying to make their way and make their artistic statements and also trying to be kind to one another. It's very much a book about kindness as well, I think. Mm-hmm.
I will translate for a little while. Me ollaan puhuttu, mistä kirja itse asiassa kertoo, ja tultiin molemmat kyllä siihen, että ystävyys on hyvin vahvassa roolissa ja se, että on lojaali ja uskollinen. Ja sitten tietenkin teatterin vahva rooli tässä ja valintojen edessä. Nämä päähenkilöt ovat valintojen edessä ja taustat ovat monimutkaisia, lapsuudet ja muut. You yourself grew up with an actress, as I said, an actress mother and a writer-poet father. So the environment of the scene in the book, the theater, comes very natural to you. Which elements are based on reality in this book?
It was very weird writing it because these characters are younger than my parents and older than me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is sort of in my DNA and in the fabric of my childhood and the air that I was breathing. But at the same time, I'm not interested in autobiography. And I try to, I'm not really interested in my own experience. So I really researched it separately, and I didn't talk to my godfather, who's a playwright, or his wife, who set up a socialist theatre company. Or I somehow did it through books and the internet and interviews with strangers, because I suppose I didn't want to feel tied, inhibited by intimacy of my own.
I understand. But it feels very authentic, since you have the background, of course. And then I can feel when I read the book that the business, the theater business, and the whole field is quite harsh, and and there's a lot of jealousy and showing off. Why do you think that the field is like that?
Well, it was a very difficult time, economically in Britain, and there was still a very passionate left wing that has subsided subsequently, and people are fighting for their corner, and I think more broadly, artists of any kind, writers, actors, are having to, reveal themselves and be naked and be honest in a way that other people have the luxury to not be. We can disguise ourselves and pretend not to feel things. And if you're a writer or an actor, I think they're very similar jobs. A writer gets to be alone in a room while they reveal themselves, but an actor has to do it publicly. And I think that makes for very fragile egos, and I sympathize with those egos.
Yeah, and when you get very vulnerable, you actually can do something good, but at first you have to become
exactly
that. You were born in the late 1960s, and the story is replaced quite in the same area. What are the things that has changed for the better since that?
Since that time?
Yeah.
When
in
I
society.
was deciding where to put the book, I knew that it was about a playwright. I knew that it was about that world. And it had to be then, because then theatre was so essential to people's lives in a way that there were things, it could still change the world, in other words. And now it feels, even though there are incredible plays being written and there's wonderful theatre being produced, it's not so crucial. And these people's lives are, they're not frivolous. They're very serious people, and they're trying to do something important. And I wanted, now, even though there's wonderful work, you have the feeling that theatre is somehow cultural icing. And I think in that time, it was more the cultural cake.
Mä kysyin Sadieltä, minkä takia kirja sijoittuu 60- ja 70-luvun Lontooseen, ja hän sanoi, että se oli aika, jolloin muutos oli mahdollista muuttaa maailmaa, tai ainakin siltä tuntui. Ja että jotenkin se tuntui hyvältä ajalta. Luke is kind of an obsessive writer who lives for the stories that can be played and acted on a scene. How important is that for you as a writer?
Well, he in a way, I really envy Luke, because he's sort of emotionally autistic in many ways. He just does his thing. He's a creature. He comes from such a profoundly awful background that his survival is to escape and to write and to work. And he's a very loving person. He's not an aggressive person. He's a very sweet person. But he causes casualties around himself all the time. And I did have an element of envy for that, because I'm as a healthier psyche, I'm nice to my children. I'm not kind of running off and getting drunk and sleeping with everyone and doing all the things that people in the book are doing.
Yeah, you feel responsible.
So he was a little bit of an alter ego for me, because he just does what he wants.
He's your wild side, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Can you feel that you are like Luke when you write? Like, do you have the same ways of working?
I think we're probably all the same writers to a degree, that we're consumed by it and obsessed by it, and weirdly, yes, just strange creatures. I think if you really talk to writers, we scratch the surface, we're all pretty much that person, I think.
Päähenkilö Luke, eli Lukas Kanowski, on vähän niin kuin Sadien alter ego sillä tavalla, että hän on kateellinen hänelle, koska hänellä on vapaus tavallaan. Hänen ei tarvitse tavallaan taistella sellaisten asioiden kanssa kuin vastuun tai aikuisen ihmisen asioista, vaan hän jostain, koska hänellä on niin rankka tausta, niin hän ei ole saanut niitä eväitä, mitkä ihminen tarvitsee ehkä elämän aikana, jotta pystyy ylläpitämään aikuisia ihmissuhteita. Mutta silti Sadie sanoo, että hienoa, että kuitenkin ei ole hän, mutta kirjoittajina he ovat hyvin samanlaisia Sadien mielestä. Another very important element that dominates the characters in the story is the lack of a healthy relationship with their mothers. And Luke has a mom that is institutionalized because of her mental illness. And Nina, the big love of Luke's life, has a terrible and actually emotionally really disturbed mother, I think. And the power of parents, especially mothers, maybe, and their influence on our identity is huge, don't you think?
It's the mother's curse to have this influence, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't want to demonize mothers, and I don't like that generally. I think it's a habit that we get into. But Luke's mother, even though she is severely mentally ill and she's in this hospital from when he's 5 years old, he says at one point, she was a good mother. She is a good mother. She loves him and she does her best. And as far as she can, she puts him first. But Nina's mother is, she is the opposite. But I still didn't think she was a demon. She's pretty awful, though. I mean, she's... But ironically, and I love my mother, and my mother is great, but a lot of Nina's mother's lines are direct quotes from my mother. And
and I just called her awful and emotionally disturbed.
But she's quite
so
witty.
sorry. Yeah.
My mother didn't do any of those terrible things. She's a great mother, but I enjoyed writing Nina's mother because she's like a little terrier. She's grasping and she's trying to have Nina do the things that she didn't have herself. And she's a monster. She is a monster. But hopefully she's a three-dimensional monster.
Let's hope so. Kirjassa käsitellään äitiyttä aika vahvasti nimenomaan päähenkilöiden kautta, ja aika monella heistä on ei-toimiva suhde tai jostain syystä huono suhde omaan äitiinsä. Esimerkiksi päähenkilö Luken äiti on mielisairaalassa ja ollut siellä siitä asti, kun Luke oli 5. Ja Niina, jota hän rakastaa yli kaiken, niin hänellä taas on sellainen mun mielestä aika hirviömäinen, emotionaalisesti häiriintynyt ihminen. Ja kävikin sitten ilmi, että Sadie sanoi, että se itse asiassa muistuttaa aika paljon hänen omaan äitiään tämä hirviö, mutta kuitenkin Sadiella on hyvä suhde omaan äitiin ja ei ole käyttäytynyt näin huonosti Sadiea kohtaan kuin itse Niinan äiti. Mutta äitiys on hankala ja se vaikuttaa meihin ja meidän identiteettiin koko elämän.
I have another thing about mothers.
Yes, please, tell me.
Because Nina is, in a way, a sort of anti-feminist icon. She's so, what she gets from her mother is this constant, your knees are good, but your ankles are not good, and you should do this with your hair to attract. Everything is superficial, and I'm interested in, the constant, the eternal female struggle to free ourselves from that. We still, very many of us, pass those things on to our little girls. You look beautiful like that. You shouldn't do that. It's not attractive. That terrible, cruel cycle. So, whilst they're both, in a way, the woman you don't want to be,
yes,
in many ways they're also the women that we are.
And the time, 60s and 70s, was a really big time for feminism as well. And in League, one of the main characters, she gets really mad at a certain point and shows her breasts and all those, the stereotypical feminist stuff that you have just read, but I have just read because I was born in 75, so.
Right.
But how much of feminism did you want to bring through this book?
It's very much about that, and that that Nina is a victim of the old way of women's oppression, really, and Lee is newly free. She's freeing herself, but she's her history is that she's trying not to fall for the same sort of man as her father, who was unfaithful, and there's Luke, who's this unfaithful man. So, at a time when feminism was changing everything, it's also changing nothing because of this fallout from the past. That the damage and the patterns just continue. So, however much we try to recreate every new generation, we're still following patterns. And the sexual politics of it were very clear to me. And the fact that Luke falls in love with Nina when she's bound, and he has an overwhelming male urge to save her, which is ultimately a disastrous notion. We're all puppets of the past, I think.
Olemme kaikki menneisyyden vangit, sanoo Sadie, ja niin paljon siitä tämä kirjakin tavallaan kertoo, koska kaikki kantavat sitä menneisyyttä ja sitä, mitä on tapahtunut, ja samalla tavalla, vaikka feminismi on hyvin vahvana elementtinä tarinassa, niin Sadie just sanoi, että 60- ja 70-luvulla niin totta kai silloin oli mahdollisuus muuttaa ja parantaa sukupuolien välistä tasa-arvoa, mutta kuitenkin mitään ei tapahdu juuri tämän takia, koska kannamme niin syvässä niitä vanhoja menneisyyden tapoja olla ja siirretään ne eteenpäin seuraavaan sukupolveen. Sexual violence and addiction is described too in this book, and what I felt is that it's very vividly described, but with a lot of empathy. I mean, I can feel that you really understand that nobody's entirely bad or good, and everybody has a baggage from the past, just that we said, and there's a reason that people act in some way.
Absolutely, I think that we all have these sort of two driving forces. There's the patterns that have been built into us, either genetically or from our childhoods, and then there's our own engine and our own individuality. And I suppose I thought a lot about Chekhov and his free will and fate, and all of these people are swimming against a current in one way. And there's talking about the sexual violence, there's Tony in the book, who really is, I suppose, a villain. But I liked him,
Me too, and that was so strange. I didn't want to like him, but I did.
He's a sad man, and he really loves her, and they're in a colluding relationship, and I wanted to explore the danger of the fact that there's never only one side to a story, and while being very far from blaming the victim, I think it's also important for people who are victimized to understand their own psyches and to take responsibility for their part in the jigsaw, and that's nothing to do with blame. But Nina and Tony have a very symbiotic relationship.
It's true. Time is running up, and I thank you so much, Sadie Jones, for this. And you can see Sadie discuss with Juha Itkonen on, is it Saturday or is it tomorrow? It's Saturday.
Tomorrow.
Saturday, yes.
Saturday.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.